Hi everybody, I'm Dr. Qazi. I'm a skin restoration specialist in Newport Beach, California. I focus mostly on acne and scars and pigmentation. I do a lot with collagen stimulation as well and facial balancing. I'm going to walk you through this case. It's a really cool case. This is a case where we did subcision and then we ended up doing fat transfer. We did a little bit of laser as well, TCA cross. You can see amazing improvement of this patient's results. He's somebody who didn't want to have too much downtime with pigmentation, and we were able to really improve his scars, mostly with manual type work with subcision and then also with fat transfer in his case. He had a lot of fat destruction, a lot of fat loss, and in order to solve that, we opted to do fat transfer for the patient. So you can see, look at this incredible improvement over here for this particular patient. This is a really nice patient, a really beautiful result actually. Somebody who had suffered a long time for his scars. And you can see, just look at that significant, I'm going to kind of go and highlight this area for you. And you can just see, look at that area where it's like just in that mid cheek was just destroyed from his acne. And then subsequently, it also destroyed some of his fat as well. Kofi, thanks so much for coming on. Appreciate you. Thanks for the kind words there. It really is an incredible result. It's something that it takes a lot of work, especially doing things manually. I don't rely on lasers and energy devices to get these kind of results. This kind of result you'll never be able to achieve, especially in this skin type. This is a Fitzpatrick 5 patient, borderline Fitzpatrick 6, because he doesn't actually get sunburned at all. And it's like we were still able to get this because we relied mostly on using our hands, using our tools to actually break up that scar tissue effectively. He's somebody who just trusted the process, trusted the way that we could do this. And you can see, just look at this. There's ways of doing this with especially manual work, doing subcision, breaking it up. That's how we could do this actually. And really, the other thing that's interesting about this is that this is the kind of patient who had done treatments before, didn't find that there was much improvement for anything that he was doing. I believe, I had double check, but I believe he had done a bunch of microneedling sessions or so. And, nothing was working. Nothing was working for it. Of course, it wasn't going to help enough for that. And I looked at it and I was like, these are really stuck scars. We got to break up that scar tissue. And we ended up doing that, of course, with subcision. And in his case, I did do tailor liberator subcision and break it up. I also used a Noker needle to break it up. It was very deep, thick scars, and we got that improvement. I haven't seen him in the last probably a couple of years or so now. At this point, he's been doing really well in life. But you can see, just look at that significant improvement there. So for this patient, this is several months. I got to double check how many months ago, but it's likely about 6 months or so afterwards for this particular patient over here. So that's Bruce Wayne. I like the name, by the way. Bruce Wayne was asking that. Thailand is asking, hi, Dr. Qazi, try the new Vanicream you recommended. I did the wrong one last time. Doesn't burn this time. Awesome, Thailand. Yeah, so interestingly enough, Thailand came in the other day saying that she was using Vanicream, and good seeing you on, by the way, and was saying that the Vanicream was burning her skin. And I realized something, it occurred to me that I was using all this time this blue and white one, this original one that I was always been using for a long time, and it's like the one for sensitive skin. And I realized that there's these other ones that people are using, and I had one of those ones as I guess it was like a sample was sitting there, and I put it on my face after a laser one day, and it was like burned it. It was stinging, and I realized that actually maybe people are buying the wrong Vanicream sometimes if they tell me that Vanicream is stinging. And so use the original blue and white one for sensitive skin. It's actually really interesting. Sometimes I learned this actually when I was on the burn unit too. I was recommending Eucerin cream to some people. And then there was another Eucerin product that they came out with, and it was like mixed with like maybe oatmeal or something else like that. And I realized that people were getting it was like stinging a lot for them too. And I was like, oh gosh, there goes my Eucerin recommendation. And now it's like hard to even find like that original formula. So I just tell people Vanicream is like the easiest to anyways. For acne prone skin, Vanicream is awesome because it doesn't break people out. Rosacea patients, it's really useful for that as well, because it's one of those ones that are just it's more of a lotion that doesn't tend to break patients out there. What about aloe vera gel from Leaf? Actually, I used to do that a lot. I used to try aloe vera a lot. I found that it was something that I was hearing people were say. I was probably using it when I was like 19 or so, 20 years old. It didn't really help my skin at all. I think actually maybe it made it even a little bit more sensitive, a little bit worse actually. And so I definitely don't recommend it post laser at all. I don't recommend it at all in general for acne prone skin. For acne prone skin, you got to take it very, very straight. Like it's just, you got to be really simple with it. You got to go and make the products very, very simple. And you don't want to just try to overextend yourself with different products. I mean, aloe vera, for some reason, people talk about it. Another thing that people talk about is vitamin E oil. Vitamin E is something else that people just talk about over and over that's going to help with healing. I never found it great to be topical. Topical vitamin E, I never found is helpful for acne prone skin. So I never really found that was a good idea. I am though, by the way, I got beef tallow or tallow, however you guys say it, but whatever. I say tallow, but anyways, so I got it actually. I'm going to try it out. I'm going to see. Hopefully it doesn't break me out. If I start breaking out, you know it's because of that. But if my skin starts looking better, you know it's because of that too. So we're going to do like a case study of one now. I'm going to start that tonight to actually see how it goes. So I'll try beef tallow, whatever it is. I'm Chicago accent. I'm trying to like hide my Chicago accent, and then like people were saying that was like very obvious. So now I'm getting mixed up of how to even say that A now. Our A's are different. I know there's a lot of people from Chicago on here too, though. PK Farnsworth is saying super impressive results. I'm curious about the micro depth of erbium versus micro laser. Is a different depth used depending on different Fitzpatrick types? Micron depth. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. When we do the micro laser peel, essentially what we're doing is the erbium laser, and we tend not to go particularly deep with that, but it's usually like anywhere ranging from like 10 microns to 20 microns or so, sometimes 30 microns depending on the skin type. It's tailored depending on each individual patient. There's ways that we could do full field erbium, which is more aggressive, and I do that sometimes. Like today, I did it on a few patients for their scars. I had a patient; she comes in and she wants it like just more like this polished off look, and it's pretty close to it. So I did a bit of ablative CO2, and then I did fully ablative erbium laser on her, and it's just something to blend it in, get a really nice superficial layer of skin that's just cleaned off there. And it's her second step. She did so well with the first one. She's of mixed origin. She's half Asian, half white. I have to be very careful with her skin type, but she's so good with sun exposure. I saw last time she was very, very good. So I was able to just really go through and get this really nice polished look over here, I think. And it's going to be awesome for her. What do I think of TCA Cross? I love TCA Cross. I do a ton of it, so I love it. So it's definitely one of my favorite things. What kind of things are you interested in with TCA Cross? I'll walk you through. I mean, I do it for so many different kinds of scars. I do it for boxcar scars, ice pick scars, rolling scars. I do it for almost everything. So it depends on what's happening there. Acne is trying to accept them now. I think I'm missing the question there. Let's see here. Syed Ahmed is saying, I got patches on my face because of acne and there is no beard growth. Is it curable or not? Actually, this patient you can't see fully. I'll try to pull up his photo a bit more. But he has that same issue. It's not really a curable issue, unfortunately, when there's that kind of hair loss afterwards. I actually worked on a case a few months ago. His results amazing already. He's a patient that had bad scarring in his beard area. I ended up breaking up the scar tissue, lifting it up really, really nicely. And then he got a beard transplant, and we'll see if the beard transplant holds. But I think it should, actually. I really think it will be pretty good. And so I think it's going to be at least the scar portion, at least my part of things was done well, and I did really well from. Let's see. There's a lot of questions. I know I'm missing a few things here. What can I say about PRP? I think it's good for hair growth. It's good for that. I don't really love it for like acne scars. I think it's for healing purposes. It's fine. I tried a lot of it early on in my career over here. I was trying to see if it's going to improve things. I didn't really find it improved much, and so I just can never hold onto things. Like I tried it for my own face. Like it seemed like it helped with the healing process. I just couldn't say that it was like definitively helping with scars. And it's just, it wasn't something I was pushing for that. But it does help for hair growth. I think it's good for the under eye area for like the right patient, but not so much a thing for scars. Would that work for a scar from a dog bite? Actually, a patient today, she's actually maybe on here too. She had severe acne scars, and then she also had a dog bite. She said when she was just maybe 1 or 2 years old, she grabbed her uncle's dog by the tail while the dog was eating, and the dog just lashed and bit her face, bit her nose, and bit her mouth. And so I did work on that. And I do a lot of dog bites, actually. It's scary because I have my own dog. I have little kids too. And so, I always pay attention to that. But, it's a sad situation because sometimes a lot of times it's like their own someone's own dog or someone's like they're close to or so it's a pretty tough one. But absolutely there's ways of doing that. It's sometimes with lasers, sometimes actually surgically fixing it. We'll have to see. Surprisingly, the dog bites really that we see, if it's like cleaned up pretty nicely, we have a really, really excellent result that we could get. A lot of times we could do that actually also with a little bit of Bellafill there too, especially like in the nose area where there's little areas where there's like a big gash and it's indented. We could place a little bit of Bellafill there actually. That could work too. So dog bites definitely we could do. Burns, another thing I talk a lot about on here. Burns, actually, I love doing burns. Because it's something that's really like catastrophic for patients. It's like a lot of times it's like there's contracted tissue too, really tough. Iram Gilani saying I got fat transfer. This let's see here. Iram is saying I got fat transfer. This procedure has made me psycho because on a daily basis I feel my face is changing in symmetry. Chin and jowls feel saggy. I am too much sad. I know you didn't do it with me, Iram. But I did, there was a person that I recently consulted with calling from Alaska, and the surgeon actually he's somebody who is all the time on social media. A lot of people will know his name, and he did fat transfer like in the chin area. He did it over here on the the chin over here, and then also on the jaw area, fat transfer. And then a few years later, the fat kind of started hanging down here in the chin, and it's like a tough situation for that patient. He's really was really upset about the way it looked. The surgeon had made the fat a little bit too high. If you notice, there's a few things that I did for this patient. We don't do fat transfer the same day that we do subcision. So first step, subcision. And then second step, about a month later, is when we do the fat transfer. So that way it's not going to shift. It's not going to be in the wrong layer. The other thing is that I don't love doing fat transfer the lower part of the face, actually. So you'll have, there's actually some patients here who probably have done consultations with me, and I've talked to them about that, about how I don't love to do fat transfer the lower part of the face, and that's exactly the reason why, But there's maybe some solutions. There's some things that you could possibly still do. It's not like it's hopeless. You could take a look to see, first of all, let's make sure it's settled in there. And we could take a look and see, maybe we should do something where you do liposuction underneath the jaw area potentially, or you could maybe do a little bit of fat melting with something like Morpheus 8, like really at a certain depth. But I know it's tough. I know it's tough that you're feeling like it's changed your symmetry. And unfortunately, that's the case because sometimes people are placing in areas where they may not be doing, it's not something that actually holds that well. There's a lot of people, a lot of surgeons out here who do subcision and they do fat transfer the same day. And what ends up happening is that people get these balls on their cheeks, and it's pulling down a bit. It's pulling down, which is really problematic, actually. Oh, Thailand, I missed your question here. Thailand's asking, I forgot to ask the other day if I was still supposed to get Bellafill in the future too. I had it scheduled and paid for, but the nurse said it'll go into credit for future procedures if unneeded. I do think that there's a couple spots, but I wanted some of your inflammation to go down first, so then I could kind of assess there. But I do think there's a couple spots that we could do it, and then if not, we can always put it towards something else though. So that's no problem there, Thailand. But yeah, I wanted some of that inflammation to still go down a bit there. So just to make sure it's like we 100% need to just like we don't have to keep on doing it over and over again then. And I think we should be okay. I think ultimately, whatever. Already your results actually, by the way, for scars are awesome, which is really good. So I think it's gonna be really good. But a little bit of that breakout that we talked about. So we'll wait for that to settle down, and then once that does, then we'll go ahead and see about placing a little bit of Bellafill in some of those pockets there. Keep It Zen gets you on, by the way. Keep It Zen is saying the result is so fire. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. And I don't know if you were on yesterday. I was talking about Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. I don't know if you read that book. I love that book. It's a really good book, actually. And let's see, where was I at? And thank you guys for the kind remarks here. What is fat transfer? Good question, actually. So fat transfer, it's really what we're harvesting your own body's natural fat. We pull it from the abdomen. We spin it around, get it like really just the purified fat, and then we re-inject that into the areas where their scars were. And that's really actually nice because in this case, for this particular patient, for example, we had a lot of fat destruction. What he lost was fat. We gave him back his fat, basically, with his own natural fat. And then we also actually get these stem cells from the fat, and we place those directly into the scars itself, and that actually ends up triggering more collagen. Really, over time, you see some scars improve a little bit more there too. So fat transfer could be excellent, but there's some people who are healthy, which is good. It's not like a bad thing that you're healthy. You can't get fat, fine. But some people, you can get fat, and it's awesome. If we can get fat, and why not? Why can't we get that? Gross, wouldn't abdomen fat have toxins? I'm not sure what that refers to, what you mean by toxins. It's just your own natural fat. We're not getting into like your intestinal area, but we do purify it because there's sometimes like just like blood and other things that are in there. So we got to make sure it's just the fat that we use, but it's not toxins actually. It's like your own, like it's not like your fat has toxins in your body right there. There's actually a lot of people out there that are just constantly talking about this toxin thing, and a lot of people are just getting suckered in by these charlatans, honestly, with this toxins talk. I'll be totally honest with you. I'm totally aligned with the idea that you should have like a holistic approach to a lot of these things. You should take a look to see like what like food is potentially causing triggers, things like that. But there's a lot of people who go to these guys, and what they're trying to do is like these cleanses for rosacea or cleanses for acne, and they put them on these crazy treatment like diets and stuff like that, where it's like, sometimes restricting certain things is fine, but it's difficult to say that it's like rosacea is just going to be solved with like just like some sort of cleanse or so. And like you should still be doing something like topical. You should still be doing something else to control and manage that rosacea. And instead they're just like pushing this stuff that like, oh, it's just like your gut or your liver, and that's all that way to cleanse your liver and cleanse your kidneys. Your liver doesn't need any cleansing. It's like that's all it does all day long is clearing up your toxins all the time. So I'm not sure what that is even referring to. It's just a lot of this talk about like these toxins and stuff like that. I do think that there's a lot of role for like control, managing our diet, managing like dairy products, things that are inflammatory. I talk about that all the time on here, but it's like not like this like the only solution for things. It's not like the only thing that you could that you should throw at somebody. There's so many other aspects there. Can you do Subcision alone treatment? So Subcision alone would not have worked for this patient. He had so much fat loss, so it wouldn't have worked actually for this patient by itself. We had to actually do Subcision, and then we had to do fat transfer. And if we did fat transfer without the Subcision, without effective Subcision, then what would have ended up happening is the fat just would have went around it. That's all would have happened. It would have went around the scars. And so we had to do Subcision and then fat transfer. That's the only way to get excellent results. And you'll see over and over and over again, there's people that really find that the fat was not really like in the area, or the filler was not in the right spot. It's because it didn't actually break up the scar tissue. That's why. TX is saying, how many Accure sessions are required to clear stubborn acne? Your results are always amazing. Vast majority of patients, our patients are about three, but sometimes it's four, especially sometimes with women, sometimes also with like some male athletes that we have, it could take about 4 sessions. So vast majority 3, sometimes though it could take 4. And it may just be that in certain areas, for example, like in the lower part, like the jawline is still kind of a stubborn area, and we have to control it better. So it's likely that's all it is. But yes, we do Accure to manage the oil production, and it's working incredibly well for that. Thoughts on punch graft for boxcar scars? It could be a great idea. It just has to be the right kind of scar to lift up there. So it's tough to say if it is necessarily the right scar for a lot of people. And a lot of times you have to see, is it really necessary? Because there is more of a risk involved with that. The scar may not heal exactly like you'd like to. How did I decide to use fat transfer or filler for volume loss? Well, I went through it with the patient. We talked about the different options. He just wanted just something that was just the most natural for his body. So, and he had enough abdominal fat, visceral fat abdominal fat, like in the flanks especially. He had that, and we were able just to pull that out really, really effectively for him. So I knew that we were going to be able to get enough fat to be able to harvest and purify and be able to do this kind of result. So in this case, it was really, patient was given options, and he wanted something that's just like the purest form for his body, which is just fat in this case, and that's what he was looking for. Cookies and Cream is saying biostimulatory products versus fat graft for tear trough, which is better? Probably neither, to really technically. Honestly, you don't want to do really much of fat or biostimulatory products in the tear trough. You could do it a little bit below it. That's okay, but fat underneath there may not hold as nicely. It could get lumpy really, really easily. Even some of the best surgeons I've seen there sometimes afterwards where it gets lumpy afterwards with fat transfer. It's very, very difficult. You could do more like the nano fat, the stem cells there, but to actually do the micro fat, the actual like thicker fat, higher risk, and if you don't do it, enough of it, it just gets reabsorbed completely. Biostimulatory products, if you're going to do it, maybe you could do something like Bellafill. It's small little droplets there. Very, very few people that I would trust for that though too. PK Farnsworth, good seeing you on again, is saying, thank you for this talk tonight. What is your technique with Sculptra? Blunt cannula or needle for more precise placement? Is the latter even possible? Yes, it's possible. I do a ton of needle technique. That's usually what I do actually for Sculptra. I go down to the bone. That's actually the way I prefer to do it. And it's there for a little bit of time. It's going to create like a little bit of collagen around it. And then it gets integrated with your tissue over the course of several months. And essentially that's really amazing because it's formed this nice, beautiful collagen there that supported your scars. So it can work very, very well. I do it deeper though. I do most of my filler deeper actually. I really was never like a fan of doing things like just, this superficial form of it, the cannula approach where it was like in the mid cheek, things like that. Never loved it. Didn't like the aesthetic. And instead, deep to the bone, certain areas, lateral cheekbone works very, very well. And you don't want to overdo it really ever with these kind of products. Fat, filler, anything like that. But there's a way to do it. There's a way to do this stuff, and we could do it really effectively over and over and over again. If you're the right patient candidate, and I only tell you if it's the right stuff. Like it's like I'm not going to do things if it's like not going to give you the best possible result. Keisha saying black skin with raised cystic spots on the nose and bumpy damaged skin. Those cystic spots on the skin, are you talking about those, like you're talking about raised ones? Those are typically papular scars. So we could actually, in your skin type, you said your black skin type, melanated skin, usually you could just do more with steroid injections rather than heat or energy, and then do silicone tape. It may take a little bit more work, but that's usually what I would end up doing. It's just so a steroid injection, silicone tape, and that should help keep it flat there. Chupacabra Taylor is saying, I have flat tan SKs on my cheeks and jawline. Started in my early 20s. I'm 36 now. Treatment, lasers, like even a Fraxel laser could work well. Or you could actually do just TCA. It's like full TCA peels. I'm not sure what skin type you are, but actually TCA peels work very, very well. It actually is great for SKs. Go to somebody who's comfortable doing it. But a lot of times, actually, people don't forget about the basics, and it's actually really good. Are thread lifts still in 2025? I still got requests for it. I actually don't love doing thread lifts. On the vast majority of people, I turn people down all the time for thread lifts. I think that it's really difficult because it could be really stuck in the wrong spot and cause these dents, cause these dimpling. And then what ends up happening is that you have to do subcision to break it up. And I had to do a few from people in my area that had caused these this tension in the skin due to thread lifts, and it's like there's way better options actually. There's way better options there. Oh, hey Michelle, good seeing you on by the way. And Michelle's asking about Miria laser. I'm not familiar with Miria laser. I'll have to take a look and see. I guess we could look right now. What's Miria laser? You always find these newer devices and things like that for me to look into. Let's see, Miria laser. I'll see if I can briefly see what's going on with that, but I'm not even sure. Is that something that's like a by Avava. Okay, let's see here. So Miria laser. We'll take a look. It's a 1550. It just looks like it's just going to be like nothing going to be different. It says it's fractionated. Almost, like I said before, for those ones, those are pretty much the same. All you have to really do is, like I use, is more like the surgical handpiece to be able to really cut the skin a little bit better, smooth down the edges more precisely. So that's usually what I do. There's usually not too much of a difference with those other ones, though, to be totally honest with you. Usually not too much of a difference there. Where was I at there? I saw a bunch more questions here. Rejuvapen or Bellafill better for acne scars? Well, you do want to do Bellafill. Bellafill is awesome for the volume loss. Rejuvapen is almost never the answer, though, in my mind, though. Do you combine Subcision or is it effective alone? In general, not this patient. Do you do volume with Subcision? Usually, yes, but it's not always the case. There's some patients that I don't have to do. Like some patients, I could do just Bellafill. I don't have to, or like some sort of volume. I don't have to do Subcision. Some patients I do Subcision. I don't have to do volume. Some patients I have to do both, and it's just like goes, with whatever the patient needs. Oh, thank you, Mrs. Jones. Appreciate you. Really do. And yeah, it's like I love to work on all this. I want to get this so we get the best possible result. And I just want to have it so that it is always like the best possible result and it's the right, safe result for patients. That's what I want to do. Thailand saying, given its mental health awareness month, do you have any mental cure tips while waiting for results to kick in? Yeah, I mean, actually, I was going through that the last couple of weeks, or last week, I should say, and it's a few things. I mean, first of all, the truth is that most patients had some sort of mental anguish due to their acne, then their scars, sometimes, of course, their pigmentation as well. And so it became like this trifecta for people. And then it's like people on here were talking about it yesterday about how some patients were, or some people on these chats were being bullied for their scars, being bullied for their acne. People just have a lot of trauma associated with their acne itself. So really, that's the biggest thing I would say. You're looking at things like this. These are not things that are happening overnight. I never show things that are happening just like overnight. These are things that are a long process. It's always a longer process than you may think. And it's like, ultimately, it's one of these things that when you think about in the grand scheme of your life, this period of time, like you're going through it, it's almost actually done. In your case, it's almost done actually. And it's like you went through a lot of things. You did the Accure laser. Now you're doing the scar treatment. And like, it's like soon it's going to be like probably like a little bit of the red marks there. And it's like one day you're really like going to look the way I did. And really, it is going to happen. Like I was actually explaining like a few weeks ago, I was so happy that I was at the gym and I was looking under angled, it was like very harsh lighting in the elevator. And I realized that like I wasn't even bothered by scars. And it was like an amazing feeling. And it was like, just like, I'm almost 43 years old now, so it took a while to get there. And I hope we could get for my patients a lot sooner than myself. But it was a really cool feeling just to have that relaxation. And it's like you'll like just like delay that gratification, and you'll see that like it's gonna be like this really amazing feeling. You'll sort of just like forget about like that trauma, forget about a lot of the things, and then kind of just look back and like think to yourself that like actually I'm like, this is actually pretty cool that I'm here now, and this moment did actually happen for my life. And it's like, wow, this is actually, we got there. We were there where it's like it took a long time, a long journey, a lot of stuff that I had to do. And maybe like now I'm in a space where I don't have like that buzzing noise and this like anxiety and this thing around me anymore. And I can now focus on other aspects of my life and just be really happy and excited with other aspects, because this was sort of holding me back. This was holding me from being the best possible version of myself. And it's like, I want people to get that sooner than I did. Really, it would be really cool if I could get people to get that a lot sooner than I got it. But it's like, I'm there at least now. And it's like, it's really cool. It's a really cool feeling. And it's like, I actually want everybody to feel that way. I want them to like feel like this. Like you can see you can see yourself in the mirror and you go look at it. And it's like, this is like this is your face, it's yours. And like, you got to achieve it. Actually, my patient today, he's a really interesting case, really nice guy. And I've worked on him now probably for a year and a half or so. We're pretty much done, very close to like done with the scar part. And, now we're doing more of the facial balancing. And he's somebody who just suffered a lot from acne and from scars. He's in Hollywood, in the industry. And there's a lot of stress involved with that. There's a lot of stress because you're around people that you assume just have perfect skin or so. And it's like, I was telling him, I was like, how does it feel now? Like, just like you're looking at it like, yeah, he's like, I always wanted like a really strong jawline. I always wanted like the chin, everything like that. And it's like, how does it feel just being able to do this now? And it's like, I wish I got it done earlier, but like, it's really satisfying. It's really satisfying. It's like, you got to kind of just let go that it didn't happen before. It's okay. But like at some point now, it's like you're here now, and it's like it's actually happening, and it's like you're there like that day for this patient. I don't want to say this, I was about to say his name, but it's like, it actually happened for him, and it's like his scars are almost completely smooth. He wants close to glass skin is what he's asking for, but he just like wants a super smooth hair, and he's just like, it's pretty close. And like now we're working on facial balancing, and it's like this is like that, like here we are, we're here in this life, in this moment where this part where you dreamed about, like it's happening, like the look that you were trying to achieve is there. And that's a pretty cool feeling. But it was not like an easy feeling thing for him either. It's like almost nobody. And that's part of why I wanted this like whole like community. I want everybody to feel like that. I wanted people to know that there's so many people that are just like you in this world that are going through this. It's not as lonely and isolating as you think. First, the acne is not as lonely and isolating as you think. The scars are not as lonely and isolating as you think, because it turns out there's a ton of people that have it, and there's a ton of people right now on this chat who are my patients who don't have acne and don't have scars. I see their names, and it's like they just are here to support people, and it's really cool. Actually, a lot of my patients are just coming for fillers or Botox, things like that, and they're just like, I love what you do for this stuff, and they just are very supportive of like this community and this world. It turns out a lot more people are really supportive of it, and there's just a few people who were just really trying to like really ruin things and try to make things like that they could really be like terrible to people, because it was just like who they were. I was telling everyone yesterday about Ricky the Bully Lamas. That was literally the guy's name. His name was Ricky the Bully Lamas. He's a UFC fighter now. He used to be a bully in like elementary school and junior high, and then he calls himself Ricky the Bully Lamas now. And it's like, that's what he was. He's proud of it. His entire, imagine like, that's like, it's so foreign. It's such a foreign concept to the vast majority of people with acne and scars. It's such a foreign thing for somebody to be proud of the fact that they're a bully. And this dude's proud of it. He's like, it's his name. He's like, I'm a bully. It's like, that's what he's going to be doing the rest of his life. That's who he is. Okay, cool. That's you. And the rest of us, it's like, we're going about this and we're carving them out of our lives. It's just like, it's pretty cool. And it's like, we're here now. We're like doing really, really, like eventually all of you will do really well. And like, you'll move on. And like a lot of people that I've treated, like we're on this chat all the time and they're just like moved on. And it's like, okay, every once in a while I see them for other stuff, but it's like, they moved on from this stuff and they're feeling really good with life. And it's like, okay, that's a really cool thing. They're like, their pathway was going one way in life and now it's shifted to a whole nother direction, which is really cool. Yeah, Michelle, something is wrong if the person is proud to be a bully. Exactly. It's like, it's crazy, right? It's a crazy thing. He calls himself the bully and he just went to UFC fighting. Janet's saying, I wish you were in Atlanta. I have acne, pockmarks with rolling boxcar scars. Should I do TCA cross? There's not many people who do TCA cross, honestly. There really aren't. I don't know anybody in Atlanta. I have a lot of patients over there. But boxcar scars do respond well with TCA. So if you find someone you could trust, sure. But otherwise, feel free to come over to us. You could do virtual consultations. Just go through on our page at drqazi.com and schedule it that way. Alina is saying, hello, Dr. Qazi. Alina Sanchez here. My skin is healing great. Thank you again. Awesome, Alina. It's good seeing you on. And Alina, maybe you could also tell people too about like just your journey too sometimes. It'd be really, really nice because a lot of people on the chat right now kind of just like my patients and going through the process. And like a lot of times it's like, it's good to see like kind of like that whole trajectory for everybody to just to learn and see like where people were, and like see that some of these patients that I show were in chat, things like that too. And then you can kind of see that like, here's like the whole process there. And I appreciate you, by the way. Feel free to write a review at some point. Nino saying, how long after Bellafill do you notice results? So Bellafill is actually interesting because it goes up like initially for a short period of time, like a few weeks, and then it goes down. And there's like, it always does that. It always does that. And everyone's like shocked. It's like, oh my God, it's just like was useless, didn't do anything. And then it regrows. And so what happens is that people that aren't familiar with it start like overfilling people, like panic, like, like it went down, and like they start shoving a bunch more product in there. And then it's like, now you could get like really, really, it looks really stiff. So instead, really slow, tiny little bits. That's how you could do that. That's what you should do. What can you do for a sunken, hyperpigmented scar on the nose from a glass injury? There's a few things. Bellafill could actually work well for that. A little bit of laser. And then the pigmentation, we could do a pico laser. Those are really good options there. Sonia Momin is saying, hi, Dr. Qazi. What is the best treatment for PIE, red scars, and brown acne scars? Are you talking about at home or something that we could do? I mean, the at-home treatments, you could do a 10% azelaic acid, could actually work pretty well for both of those things. And you could combine it with Eucerin's anti-pigment cream. So that's something you could probably consider doing. But really, if it's really stubborn, then you probably need a laser. You could do XLV and Pico laser. It could work really well for that. Mishka is saying, I have acne scar damage all over my face, and I've already tried every treatment. I will be happy to help you. I mean, there's a lot of people that have tried a lot of different things, and my goal in life is just to be like the end of your journey. So I'll be like just making sure it's just done properly for you. Let's see here. So you won't see results after one session. Nino's asking, so you won't see results after one session. No, you will see improvement after one session. It just depends on what you're trying to shoot for. What's the thing that you're looking for? How much improvement are you shooting for? It all varies, honestly. There's some people that it could actually be like incredible. It could be like a really, really soft improvement because your collagen response was like really excellent. You are also somebody who just otherwise your oil is really, really well controlled. You don't smoke, you don't vape, you don't go to the sun. It's just like a lot of different variables there. You otherwise are super healthy and just had a really robust collagen response. But like it depends on what kind of scars you have, what other variables are out there, and really low likelihood for patients to see like just the complete improvement after a single session. But you will see improvement. It just depends on what kind of scars you have, and if you're doing exactly what I'm saying to do. There's some people who like really do want to pick and choose a lot of things and say, well, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, which I understand. Like you want to be like, someone was telling me the other day that, or actually even today, someone was mentioning to me that they heard that there's so many horror stories of Subcision. It wasn't from me, like of my patients, but it's of somebody that was in the UK. And it's like, I understand, but like at the same time, there's also a lot of stories of a lot of different things. It doesn't mean that like, you have to throw away the whole treatment. There's like ways of doing it safely. There's ways of doing it very effectively. And we could do it. We could do it over and over and over again. And I'm only doing it if we need to do it. I'm only using certain tools if we really need to use those tools. So it's like, just find someone like that. Do that. Don't go to some people that like do have that reputation of causing those issues and things like that. If you really like are worried about, but like I'm going to get you, if I'm recommending Subcision, it's like for a reason. I want to make sure that we could get the best possible result for people. There's no way I would have gotten this result without Subcision. There's just no way. Can you show more before and afters? Yeah, do it every day. Pretty much every day if I could. But I try to do it. So every Monday through Thursday at 9 p.m., just come on here at 9 p.m. Pacific time. TX is saying, is Bellafill enough for moderate fat loss? If you do it a few times, it takes a lot though. It's like not just one and done. You gotta do it and then wait and then do it and then wait and then do it and then wait. And just like keep on doing it that way. Let's see here. Where was I? Something I've lost a lot of different. I had a lot of actually. I love the question. All these questions, by the way. I did Juvederm 12 years ago. Is it better than what? I guess I'm missing the question. But sometimes Juvederm is still there. Doctor, do you still have your verporphin? Yes, I do have it. Actually, you didn't have any body scars though. I'm only allowed to do body scars though. So if you have body scars, if you want me to take a look and we can see. They really limited it with this body scar thing though. So that's one thing. But I do have the thing to approval to do it for body scars though. And I have it actually. So let me know. I don't believe you had it though. If you have body scars, let me know and we could put you in for some for excising the scar and then trying to see if we can get as scarless as possible with that. We're still a long way for that way though. Any risk of blindness from fillers in the temples near the eyes? My derm refuses. It's good that he refuses. I do it all the time. There's of course risk. There's ways of doing it safely. You got to move the cannula around. And I do usually use a cannula. I don't use a needle approach there. There's somebody who's pretty famous. He always talks about just doing like the shotgun approach, just going right down here, going down to the bone, putting a filler there. It's actually really high risk. I'm not sure why, he's famous for this approach because it's actually has led to blindness actually. So that's not the approach that I do. Instead, actually, it's kind of interesting. So, like, I remembered, when you go in like anatomy class and you're dissecting, you can see like that vessel sitting there, exactly the spot that he's talking about. So I'm not sure what he's referring to there, but cannula, it's okay. You can do it with a cannula. But if your dermatologist is refusing to do it, that's good. Go to somebody or find somebody who does a lot of it and is safe with it and has a approach that makes sense and they feel comfortable with. But you found an ethical person who's not doing it, which is great. It's perfect. But temple filler is awesome, honestly. It's really good. Can I do Bellafill where I did Juvederm 12 years ago? Yes, you could, yeah, no problem. How do I make a consultation? You could go directly at our website, drqazi.com. My prices are on there. Everything's on there. You can take a look to see how to schedule. Sometimes Subcision is not on there, but most patients are at $800, sometimes up to $2,000 for Subcision. So hopefully that helps out with you. Let's see here. Thailand saying, do you think I could get close to more typical skin again? It's been a lifelong journey with acne for me, so sometimes I really hope to shoot high. Good question. I mean, to be honest with you, Thailand, you're pretty close, really. Like, if you look at it, your skin is pretty close to it. We're pretty early on into it. I mean, it's tough to say, is it going to be like, I'm glad you didn't say perfect, but typical skin, yeah, I think we should be able to get to typical skin. And I mean, honestly, I would be really happy to continue working on that for you. Like, it's something that, like, in my mind, in your case, you're so close to it. You're very realistic expectations with this whole thing. And it's obvious that this was something that, like, it was severe at one point, like with the acne that you had. And I'm glad that the severe acne got really under control. I'm glad that that's there, but you still have this a bit of residual, like, pigmentation, like these red marks that are there, and very mild now left with scarring. I mean, those are all things that actually can improve a lot, actually. So, I will be able to help you out with getting you to that. I think typical skin is something that's something in your case, especially, something very achievable over time. So yeah, I mean, it'll make me really happy to see that, actually. It'll make me really happy. And I know right now, hopefully you let me say that, but like, I know right now you don't want to see like your previous photos, like you say you don't like to see it, but maybe one day when you're like in a good space to see it, like one day you could see it, maybe. I mean, it's not like you're forced to or anything like that, but one day think about it, and it'll be really, really like this cathartic moment. Like, it could be, I mean, maybe not, but like, it could be like this moment where you feel like this is like this release that, like, it passed. You saw where it was and see where it is now. But you'll be the judge of that, though, because it's like possible. Also, you just are really going to be really happy with your new skin, and like that's what you just move on and just forget about everything else that happened there. I myself, I didn't take. A lot of people ask me for my acne photos and that. Actually, I didn't take any photos of my skin really. Like, I hardly did. And I used to write for my high school newspaper. Actually, I used to write like this column. It was like I forgot what it was called. It was like my little column that I used to have. And I didn't even have I refused to have my face photo actually for the photo for the column. And they were insisting that they had to have it. And I was like, actually, like, kind of sad actually when I actually think about it sometimes. Like, I actually like it was probably would have been nice to kind of look back at it and see like my face on my columns and stuff like that. Like, I saw like my old newspapers and stuff, and I was like, gosh, it would have been kind of cool to show like my kids, like, here's like my column like I had in high school. And I do remember, though, that like at the time it was just so traumatic. But now I kind of look back, like, I wish I saw it. I wish I had that photo. So that's kind of what I would do. But I actually didn't like my high school. Like, I almost had no photos of my face at that time, like none. It was like so rare for me to take photos that time. It was so rare, and it was like just such a big deal. And like, it was the days I would do it is like just because like I like happened to get like clearer skin because like maybe I was on Accutane at that point or so, and then like it was fine. But then my lips were so chapped, I felt like uncomfortable because of that. So there's usually some reason why I wasn't taking photos. So I had like this whole gap of time where I just wasn't taking pictures actually. So I do get it actually. I did it like a long time actually, and now like I'm okay with it. It's like, but Michelle Moonfox saying I also refused my photo in the articles, and now I'm comfortable in the camera. Yeah, I am comfortable in front of the camera. It's true. But it's like, it took a long time, to be honest with you. It was like, I kept on looking at it, like the lighting and things like that. And I felt really like, just like, man, this is going to be tough to do. And I still sometimes see my scarring a little bit here and there. And it's like, maybe I should try to get a little bit better every once in a while, like a little tiny bit, like at the right angle of that. And it's just like, that buzzing noise sometimes happens there. And maybe I'll do something. And maybe I will, but it's like so small now. It's such a small moment there that it's like, it's fine. Yeah, it's okay. Like, I'm actually like, it's like a pretty cool to be able to get there. Mishka saying, do you recommend Phenol peels? It depends. If it's really thick scars, if you're Fitzpatrick 1 through 4, then yes, we have a few phenols coming up actually. So it depends on the kind of scars. Boxcar scars could work very well. Rolling scars could work very, very well for that. Ice pick scars, plus or minus. It depends on it actually, to be honest with you. If they're really deep, maybe not. Maybe we want to raise them up a bit with excisions, TCA cross, things like that before doing something like a phenol. So it gets more superficial and it's just going to be more valuable for you. I have a really cool case actually. I wonder if she'll let me share it one day. But she just has one super deep ice pick scar. I've been working on her just only since January. She's in her 40s actually. And it's almost completely closed. She comes to me every 2 weeks and I just keep on doing a little bit of TCA there. And it's almost like lifted up completely and closed. It's actually a really cool case actually. So that's interesting. Just a side note though, but that's why sometimes just constantly doing a little bit of TCA, making it smaller, helping it rise. Sometimes all you have to do, you don't have to do too much more actually. And then you didn't have to do like this big aggressive like phenol, big aggressive like CO2 type of thing. Thailand saying photos are rough. Yeah, I mean, you'll see a lot of people in the chat right now saying the same thing. And it's like, it is tough, it is a tough thing because but at the same time, like photo, at that moment, it's like maybe don't look at it, but like just at some point, it's kind of worth seeing what you looked like at that time. Like I kind of do regret, to be totally honest, I do regret not taking photos in my high school years when my acne was the worst. Actually, I didn't even take. I had acne actually in college too. I didn't really take much in college either too. And then it's like I kind of wish though that I looked at back now. It's like I do wish I had more photos of like my friends or like with like doing things, and like it just would have been like kind of cool just to see. Especially like I said, that newspaper article that I used to do. And it was actually a pretty good article. I was talking about a lot of stuff. Like I guess the kind of stuff I talk about on here, I was doing it in that, and like that was my thing. I was writing a lot. But yeah, so at some point in Thailand, I think really you'll see, like, it's kind of interesting. It's a kind of interesting type of thing. One day you'll see, like, you'll like forget about a lot of stuff, forget about a lot of the journey, and then you're just going to catch yourself in the mirror like that and be like, okay, I get it. It's like, we're like really like we got it. And it'll be really nice. Like the patient today, he's just like, it'd be nice to talk to like your teenage self and tell them that like one day, like you're worried about like your skin, worry about how you're appearing and things like that. And you could just like get to it, and you could get to the goals you're trying to shoot for. And it's a really, really cool feeling to be able to have. Like it's a really, really amazing moment. And like, and it's like really cool for me to experience that moment there. Because it's like I get to be part of something that like somebody else's life is like shifted now into like a more positive direction. And the more of that happens, the better this world is going to be. I can tell you that. It's like we just need a lot more of that. There's a lot of stuff that's out there now that's just trying to pull people back and hold people down. And like instead, let's just push it towards that direction. It'll be really cool. Consultations are $150 actually. It does get applied towards treatment. Coco saying healing your inner child. Exactly. Yeah. I saw there was a trend on like TikTok or something like that where it was like, if I could tell like my like young self something, there's a lot of stuff like that. And I think actually people with scars, people with like acne, and it's like a lot of people actually really should actually kind of think about that, at least in your own mind, like how grateful you could be and like how things have changed, and hopefully they've changed for yourself. But if they haven't changed just yet, you could kind of see that way it could. Like it's just like eventually going to get that direction. And like it's like there's certain aspects of your life that potentially are better. You're in a place where right now you can do it. And I always say that like I wish like this existed when I was in this journey. Like I did. I wish that like I had somebody that would just like talk about this and like to explain it, and have people on these groups chats that were saying things and saying like, hey, like I did this and I suffer from scars, or I did that and I suffer from acne, and like they talk about it, because we didn't have any of that. Nobody ever talked about their acne. It was just like a shameful type of thing for people, and they were just felt that they were being judged by it, and there was just aggression with it. And it's like it's tough for a lot of people because of that, and it'll be really nice if we could just go back one day to like to like reminding ourselves, just like visit ourselves in a dream or something like that, and be like, hey, listen, this moment when it's like really, really dark and like really terrible. And like I remember that actually there was a time I was probably like 15 or 16 years old, and it was like probably had like the worst skin in my high school, and I was a pretty big high school at that time actually, and I was like the only like minority in that school too. And it was like, it just felt like it was just terrible. And it was like, I remember just like thinking like, just like the worst. It's like, this is it forever. And my dad was just like, it does get better. It really does. It's like, like it's not like a permanent thing. And otherwise you have good features, and like, don't worry about it so much and things like that. But like, he would always say, oh, it's not noticeable. I knew it was noticeable. So like, I kind of like, I was like, it is noticeable to me. I thought like other people noticed it. And I was like really, really down about it. And I remember thinking to myself that like, this is just like it. Like my life is just like that forever. And then it turns out it's like, it's not. It actually turns out that like, it's really like, it ends up being like, I actually probably wouldn't even remember it if I didn't like have patients in that age that were suffering from the same condition that I used to suffer from. I really wouldn't have remembered like quite as much. Like, man, at one point this was that like end of the world too, for me. And like you pass it so much, and it's like, wow, that was like it feels like a whole different world. But it's amazing that we could get a solution now. Just imagine if we had that back in that time. And like, but you could tell yourself that one day you're going to be able to get it where you could feel comfortable and happy about it. Period saying, I had multiple Accure lasers at your office since June and my skin is still oily. What can I do? Well, if it is truly oily, then talk to us, because you may need another session. I would say that that's what we ought to double check to see. I do find that sometimes there's a few patients, there's probably like 5 to 6, I would say, who needed 5 sessions actually. I got to double check, but about 5 or 6, and that was it at that point. But like that did control the oil then after that. I'm not sure what number you're on though, but 4, probably 3 or 4 if I'm saying several sessions. But it could take one more session potentially, or we may have to figure out something else though. What else is going on? I'm okay with figuring it out. But I obviously, the main thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to be able to just to have you like come in and talk to us and see what we could do. So talk to us though, talk to my office if you haven't talked already, because maybe we have to figure out what else we should solve for, like, you know, is there hormonal, is there something else that we're missing over here? But there's definitely different options there. I am not going to leave somebody around with like oily skin still after they did the sessions or so. So let's talk and figure out what the best option is. Rahul is saying, why has Aviclear been discontinued in many places? Accure went bankrupt. It went bankrupt. And I kind of hinted at that like last year or so. I don't know if you guys were kind of paying attention. Moonfox, who was on here, she was paying attention last year. But I was kind of hinting at it last year that that's kind of what was the direction of the company. And unfortunately, that ended up happening. Talon's saying, sometimes I look back on my acne was super severe, and I'm surprised that it didn't scar as much as I thought it would. It's so nice only having a few spots these days. So that's awesome that you're at that point now. And it is, you're lucky actually. And like really, it's like one of these things that like I look at people who did have really severe scarring, and it's like, man, I'm lucky also I didn't have severe scarring due to the severe acne that I ended up having. And I'm glad I could help out people. And it's good that time that you could like empathize with people that suffer from that. And, you know, you had one component of it, you still have a bit of another component, but it's like nice, like you're still part of that community, you're still part of that world now that is going down this direction here where you're trying to heal from all that trauma. And it's like, just because it's not as severe of a case, someone like this, for example, doesn't mean that you're not suffering from like, you know, trauma from your scars, trauma from the pigmentation. It's still like not the best possible version for you. And so that's another thing. Like I never want to say that, oh, you like your scars, someone's scars are just so minimal, not noticeable, and that like people shouldn't worry about it, because it's like obviously we're not going to do like huge treatments like this for patients with mild scars, but like there's things that we can still do to make it so that the person feels better and feels like it's closer to their best possible version and what they viewed as they should have been looking like if it wasn't for their acne, if it wasn't for their scars. And so we absolutely should do that. And period, if you could just, because your name is not on here, if you could just reach out to my office too tomorrow, we'd be happy to help you out there. So because it just says period on here, I don't know who you are actually. But you know, it'd be really nice if you could, because then I could be able to really just properly solve it for you. And you know, like I will solve things. Like the thing is that like what I do is I will solve things. Like whatever the thing is, we'll figure out the stuff. And it's like, it is. And really the thing is, I'll just say this, you know, there's nobody else in the world that would say this thing. I'll just tell you something here, that I look at things and I will say sometimes that like, hey, you know, this, for example, let's say I do something where I did scar treatment, and for whatever reason, I had to hold back, and it wasn't really like the patient tried to do everything their job. They should do everything else that they needed to do. But I looked at mine and I'm looking at it like, hey, you know, this wasn't the best possible result that I could have achieved at this point. And I honestly, like just last week or 2 weeks ago, I did it for a patient. I just did the full like next step for the patient. I did it because I was looking at like this objectively just wasn't where I wanted it to be. Although when she came in, she did say it looked better than it was before, but like it did improve over, like maybe we jumped the gun and saying it didn't get improvement at that point, because ultimately it did get better actually a little bit, but I still did it for her, you know, and now it's going to be an awesome result, and I took care of it. And like, I will do that. Really, it's like I have done it before. Like I look at things, I'm looking at like objectively, like okay, like I guess, you know, sometimes it's also like people just say that it's not really enough for them, but like, you know, did they do the volume? Did they do everything else? Did they do the things like that? And a lot of times they just didn't do that, or they just weren't like as healthy as they wanted to, as they should have been, or other aspects that were there. But if I'm looking at it, we're looking at it together, and it's just like, okay, like we have to do it, and we gotta get you there. We gotta get you through the right space. I'll get you there. I'll still do it for you. So let's do it, you know. So I'm not sure, like, you know, what else you could possibly need. So the same thing for all these things. It's like I will try to figure out like how to get this, because the last thing I'm going to have in this world is people suffering from something that's solvable and that we can improve, especially if you're like on track and doing the things I'm saying to do, and you otherwise are somebody who's going to like take care of everything else that we should say to do. Like make sure you're doing your sunblock, make sure you're doing, if you're doing, I say to do volume replacement, do the volume replacement, do it. And like it's not fair if you like not doing that volume replacement, because it's like that's one of the biggest aspects of this. If you're not doing the volume replacement, it's not likely going to get you that full result then, and you're just like, you probably shouldn't even start the journey. Please do mind, how can I reduce my acne scar pigmentation from hormonal acne? I live in New Zealand. We could be able to do a consultation. But pigmentation is usually not terrible, though. For people, like a lot of people could do pigmentation. You can consider. It looks like Michelle Moonfox is saying you could see Dr. Davin Lim over in Australia. You could see he does pigmentation very, very well, and you could consider talking to him actually for that. And so he works on the pico laser. He does a very good job with pigmentation. So he's pretty close to you over there. I have had patients from Australia as well, but you're next to somebody who could help you very, very well with especially your acne pigmentation there. Brendan is saying, do you do full ablative CO2 laser? I want a really intense laser for my indented scarring. You may not need it. You may not need it there. Thailand saying, yeah, I'm so glad I'm being given the attention I need for it as opposed to providers telling me to let it go or others in my life. I appreciate the in-depth journey. I appreciate you, Thailand. Really do. I'm glad that I'm here for you, and you know where to find me at nighttime, because I'll be here at Monday through Thursday. And honestly, that's part of the reason why I'm on here, because I really do know that there's a lot that's involved with this. There's a lot of just emotional upheaval. There's a lot of things that that people go through. And I went through it myself when I was doing fractal lasers and things like that. And I did want to hear, it would be really nice to hear from people, someone else to see, is my treatment the best option? Is there something else we could do? What other things that we could do? And I'm totally fine with doing that in this open forum. I do want to have it so that people just see that we could find some solutions for people. And one of the worst things that have ever happening for people is that this crushes people so much that they can't reach their potential in this world, and it really can hold people back in that way. And so it's one of the saddest things in the world actually for me is when people aren't achieving their potential, or just humans just don't live as long as they should because of stress, because of loneliness. Did you know that actually loneliness could actually decrease people's it's actually one of the factors that actually could decrease people's life expectancy. Loneliness. Interesting, actually. Loneliness can decrease life expectancy. So it's man, nobody ever talks about that. It's or at least I don't really see too much of it. It's a thing that I realized that loneliness is actually a very, very serious problem. It's proper, it should be treated really and tackled really, really well. And it's not going to be treated with medications. A lot of things really mental health wise. Medications can help a bit, but a lot of it needs more of a holistic approach. You have to take a look at a lot of different aspects of it. And loneliness is something else. And acne and scars and pigmentation can really cause loneliness. So one of my goals, I have a few goals. One of my goals is solving loneliness. So, or at least from my little world. Anyways, guys, I appreciate you so much, and I hope to see you guys